Yo, this is a guide for Ironclad, and in this video I'll go over each build and how they play, with timestamps in the description below. And please keep in mind that this is for the beta branch 0.101. Starting off with quite a fun build, Strength. Using cards like Setup Strike, Fight Me, Inflame, and Demon Form, you can start to build up Strength, which makes each attack do an extra flat amount of damage. And the best way to take advantage of this is to use multi-hit attacks, like Sword Boomerang, Twin Strike, and Thrash, as because it's a flat amount applied to each hit, multi-hits effectively double or triple the amount of strength you have. Now, the playstyle of this deck depends on how you choose to support it. Strength is a build that's inherently incomplete, as there's no block or draw to specifically support Strength. There are, however, two builds that I'd consider packages that can complete this deck: Vulnerable and Self-Damage. Taking a look at Vulnerable, it's a debuff you want to be applying anyway, but only a few cards can take advantage of multiple stacks, and those cards are really good for Strength. Using cards like Molten Fist, Tremble, and Taunt to build up multiple stacks, then either using them with vulnerable payoffs like Bully, Dismantle, and Colossus, or translating them into Strength with Dominate. Either way, Vicious is the perfect draw engine for this package. Moving to self-damage, it also has cards that fit into the gaps of a Strength build, with efficient cards being able to trigger one of the best Strength scaling powers, Rupture, and using cards like Blood Wall, Bloodletting, and Breakthrough to support Rupture's strength scaling. But self-damage doesn't have any specific draw cards, so sticking to more generic ones like Strugoff and Battle Trance will still be good. Now, how you want to play Strength with these subtypes is to stall and set up an engine with Taunt, Dominate, and Vicious with Vulnerable, and Blood Wall with Rupture for self-damage. Then just scale Strength as much as you can. But while Vulnerable is a good package for any build, and can even be a standalone with enough cards, I'd say self-damage can't really be used the same way. Self-damage takes advantage of the regen Ironclad gets from his relic, trading HP for Strength. And while Vulnerable gives a 50% increase in damage to every build, you really need multi-hit moves to take advantage of the strength you get from Rupture, as with having enemies with so much more HP than you, trading HP for Strength at a max 1-to-2 ratio just isn't enough. With Strength being the only build able to use Strength at an effective 1-to-6 ratio with Rupture, it's really the only build able to scale with self-damage enough until the end. Moving along to one of the simplest builds for Ironclad, Block, where the play pattern is to simply just block as much as possible with literally any card, then using Body Slam to translate it all into damage. Some of the best combos for this deck is 1-2 Punch into Iron Wave, then Body Slam, and Unmovable and Barricade really allow the deck to pop off, and if you're enjoying the video so far, consider subscribing. Now on the other hand, the most complicated build for Ironclad, Exhaust. This deck I'll break down into three parts: cards that exhaust cards, cards that want to be exhausted, and payoffs for exhausting. Starting off with cards that exhaust cards, Burning Pact, True Grit, and Brand are my favorite picks, and with cards that want to be exhausted, Howl from Beyond is the go-to card, with Infernal Blade having an interesting spot, as it exhausts itself and gives you free attack. So you don't want to exhaust Infernal itself, but the card that it makes, giving a 2-for-1 for exhausted cards. Now for the payoffs, which Exhaust probably has the best ones. Ashen Strike, Evil Eye, and Pax End are all great cards for Exhaust. And for the play pattern, this deck has the most synergies between them, so I'll try to cover as many as I can. But before that, I want to talk about control in this deck, namely which cards you use to exhaust. There are cards like Cinder, Second Wind, and Fiendfire that don't allow much control over what cards you exhaust, which I personally avoid. They are powerful cards, but just clash with my playstyle, so if you want to pick them, they're also great options. But let's go over this deck's play patterns and synergies. Headbutt and Havoc are great paired together, allowing you to choose what you play, either trimming a strike or defend, or getting Howl exhausted. But Howl and Infernal, while both being great cards to exhaust, play better with different payoffs. As Howl will unexhaust itself at the start of this turn, it will lower the power of Ashen Strike and Pax End, but pairs really nicely with Thrash and Evil Eye, while Infernal is the opposite, pairing better with Ashen Strike and Pax End, often giving 2 cards as fuel for them, while it doesn't really work with Thrash at all, but does act as a 0-cost, 0-card disadvantage way to trigger Evil Eye. And finally, Corruption. Probably the most broken card for this deck, but also one of the most dangerous, as you can burst a lot of damage, but if you can't kill in around 2 turns, you could be stranded with no skill and block in deck. Now for a new build, Cheating. I don't really know what else to call it, but this deck wants to use a lot of high cost cards like Blood Wall, Flame Barrier, Bludgeon, and Mangle, then using cards like Stampede, Unrelenting, and Cascade to ignore the costs on those cards and have insane energy efficiency. But using cards like Bloodletting and Pyre, you can dump more energy into Cascade, or just play the high-costed cards normally. But keep in mind that card quality is really important to this deck, so try to keep it thin. And for our final build, and probably the most busted, Hellraiser. Just reading the card, you can already see it's kinda busted, but paired with Pommel Strike, Hellraiser allows you to draw into more of them, making an infinite with enough Pommel Strikes. But without a critical amount, you can already filter a lot of the non-strikes from your deck and put them into hand. So using big block cards like Flame Barrier and Bloodletting, as you don't need to spend energy on attacking, and restarting the loop with Shrug Off and Pillage, you can just keep looping your deck for so much damage. But that's every build for Ironclad. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you'd want to see next. And thank you for watching.